So, as you know, my name is Ruchir
Okay,
Jain. I am working in data science or data analytics industry from last 15 plus years now. And when I started my journey, it was not called as data science at that time. This term coined a lot later than, when I started my career. But yeah, now it's a booming field and I'm glad to be a part of it. And I enjoy every bit of, working on data science or analytics use cases that we work on in our company or even personally. Yeah.
great यार. Like I was studying with your like LinkedIn और उसमें मेरे को पता चला that you started your journey from a non-technical background, that you have done your bachelor's in electrical field, then you move on
Electronics,
to
yeah.
the data analyst, and then you became the data scientist. So it was very inspiring to know that you were like non-technical, then you moved into a technical field. So would you like to like explain this more? Like how did you do that and all?
Sure. So I will just start with my, educational background first so that I can give a little bit of, background of what I was doing before I started working in data science and analytics. So basically, I did my college from a, tier three college, like most of us do. And during my college, I was studying electronics and communication engineering. And honestly speaking, at that time it was nowhere in my mind that what kind of field I want to go into. It was just that I was studying that. I did not I passed every exam that was there in my 4 years of btech, but at the end of the day I had zero clue of where I want to be in the future, what I want to do exactly, what my passion was. I got my college placement done. I started working for a big mnc company, and at that time also I was working on things which were not related to data analytics or data science. But in that use case that I was working on, or the projects that I was working on, I was given some work where I had to put the it was basically a ticketing system that I was working on, and I had to put those tickets into excel sheet every day. I mean, that was a software through which we had to uh, download the tickets that were coming every day, and we had to manually assign it to the people who are supposed to work on it. Okay, so that was the task given to me when I was a fresher. So I used to, manually upload, like download that data every day. And then, I just manually check that, okay, this particular type of ticket, who is the best to work on it. I used to, assign those people manually. And then slowly, I started getting idea that, whatever I was doing, that is just plain reporting, right? I was just giving that data to the team so that, the people can start working on their tickets when their, shift starts. But then I realized that okay, this will not this is not making any sense. Like, this is just giving them some information, right? How can I bring intelligence into that particular thing? So then I started understanding that okay, what are the most common types of tickets that are coming to us? What is the reason of those tickets coming to us? Can we somehow fix that root cause of those problems so that the number of tickets start getting reduced? Right, that was the first thing that I had in my mind. I did not know what I was doing at that time. It was never, data science or analytics in my mind, but I was just trying to make our work easier, right? Whatever we were doing in our team. And at that time, this was the first thing. Second thing was, some tickets were supposed to be given to just one guy. And because of that, the turnaround time for those tickets was quite high, right? Because if one guy is going to work on 10 tickets or 20 tickets and there is nobody else who is working on those tickets, then obviously the tickets are going to be in the queue for a longer time, and they will be, not going to be solved as per the turnaround time promised to the customers. And then I proposed the solution that we should try to bring some more people to work on these kind of tickets. This is all part of analytics, but I did not know at that time, right? So that was the starting of my journey with data analytics. And then when I consciously understood that okay, this is what I this is what I enjoy working on, at that time I deliberately then tried to work on projects which are belonging to data domain, be it data analytics, reporting, or later on I started working on data science as well, machine learning, everything. Yeah. So that was the, like the journey that I wanted to explain to the viewers. Basically, I did not know anything about data science or analytics, but then when I started working on things, I figured out that yes, this is what I want to do. Yeah.
Great. Like it was very inspiring journey to know, because like many of us don't know much about data science, but we want to go into this field of data science and machine learning. And I was very like excited to know your views on AI, because earlier we were talking on AI. So you had very polarizing views on that. So if you could just explain on that too.
Sure. So AI is a very new buzzword that we hear all over the internet nowadays, right? Everybody is talking about AI. And I am not saying that AI is not the real thing. It is here to stay. But I always believe that whatever we are doing, we should do it from scratch. You cannot learn AI just on its own. You have to understand that where AI exists in the bigger or the larger landscape of all these different terminologies that we have. So where does AI exist? And then from there try to understand that okay, if I want to become good in AI also we have two paths, right? One is that you are building AI from scratch, Chat GPT or Claude, Anthropic, all these tools, or Google's Gemini or Meta AI. All these tools are built from scratch, correct? But then you can use AI to build your own apps, right? AI powered apps. That is the user side of things. So you have two side of things. You need to understand that which particular side you have most interest in, and then develop a learning path based on that, right? So that's what my view is, that always start with the basics. At the end of the day, everybody wants to understand that what is it that we are going to get benefit from whatever we are doing, right? At the end of the day, it should be beneficial to, if we are building it for a company, they should see the ROI coming out of it. Or if we are building it for a particular individual consumers, they also need to understand that okay, how it is helping them at the end of the day, right? So that is how we should think about any use case, and then go about building AI solutions for that.
So you think like right now it is just a fad, or like it is a big bubble that is going to be burst, or like it is going to grow in future?
It is going to grow in future for sure, but whatever we hear about it at the moment, that are just buzzwords, because it is confusing for the for a guy who is in the college, right? He starts studying something, then in 3 months or 4 months you will hear that okay, that technology is no longer relevant, you need to learn something else. You will start getting something else which is going to be a buzzword for maybe next 4 to 6 months, right? That is where I think that okay, for a particular student who is just in college, or even if you are in the industry, you are 1 or 2 years experienced and you want to become an AI guy or AI engineer in the future, you should just take a pause, just understand that okay, what are my larger goals for my career, and then build a roadmap based on that. Don't just run after the buzzwords that okay, AI is going to do this thing, that thing in the future, and yes, that's why I should learn about it. That approach will not work in the actual world. That is what I believe in.
And for like if I start from the like core data science, if I have all the things which are like machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, computer vision, so if you could just provide a roadmap so that we can start with the machine learning, then all the way up to the AI that is now being popular for like on any upcoming 20-year-old who is starting from the college.
Right. So I will not even start from machine learning. I will tell you one thing. Take any data set, okay? Take any data set and try to find insights from it. Forget about machine learning, deep learning, AI, natural language processing. Forget about everything. Just take any data set, be it your own. If you are a student, then just see what kind of data sets you can work on. There are tons of data sets available on the internet nowadays. Or if you are in an organization working for a company, you must be working in a team, you must have data around you. Just take that data, try to find insights from that, insights which are actionable insights. It can be done in any particular Excel sheet as well if the scale of data is not that high, right? But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that every company cares about the insights. Nobody cares about the machine learning model or deep learning model that you have built for the project or for the use case that you have been working on. Everybody wants to understand that, okay, what can I do to improve my business, right? Now when I say improve your business, it can be either you want to increase your revenue, or you want to reduce your cost, or you have some time consuming manual work that you do and you want to get it automated, right? These are three four kind of use cases that you find in any kind of business, right? So if you can understand and try to find insights from a particular data, you have already started becoming a data scientist, right? Because that's what matters the most. Once you have done that, then the next step is to understand that, okay, how can I convert it into a dashboard, right? So that I can show it to my potential customers or clients or business owners, right? They should be able to find something from that dashboard. Why are we building dashboards? Dashboards are built so that they can give a snapshot of where the business is, depending on what the use case is. You need to understand that, okay, how can it be helpful for the customers? Then from there you need to build on it. You will find something which looks odd to you in your business, and for that you need to brainstorm that, okay, what all potential solutions can exist for that particular problem, right? Then you need to start exploring that, okay, how can I integrate machine learning in that particular problem, right? Whether machine learning can solve that problem, or I need to go to deep learning, which is even advanced version of machine learning, right? A- and then it depends that, okay, how you want to proceed further, whether there can be a AI use case that can be created out of that or not. So that is how I would like to proceed if I am a 20-year-old guy, and if I have to get guidance, this is the kind of guidance that I would love to have.
So basically, you're saying like you don't have to delve into the machine learning part. First, become a data analyst and see like how the data works, and then
Correct.
you should be learning more on that lines of that.
Correct, because at the end of the day, when you are doing machine learning projects, in that also you need to do EDA, right? Without EDA, there is no machine learning project. So when you are doing EDA, that is an exploratory data analysis, right? So if you can do that well, then your machine learning projects quality will be far superior. So we have a lot of algorithms that exist. Some are black box, some are like relatively simple to understand, but at the end of the day, data is the king. If you are providing relevant features to your data science model or machine learning model, whether it's a simple algorithm or a complex algorithm, the amount of features that you have given to that particular problem and how good they are able to explain the predictive power, that is what matters the most. That is how you will be able to build the complete project.
Great. So one controversial question that I have is like, what language do you prefer, Python or R?
Honestly speaking, that always depends on the company you are working with. Right now, the data says that Python is the language that most of the companies prefer. I am not saying that R is not used anywhere, but that's what I am saying, that there is no right or wrong language. It always depends on, first thing, which company you are working with, what do they prefer, right? Because if you know R but they work with Python, it doesn't matter whether you know R beautifully or not, right? You have to switch to Python to work with that company. Second thing, if you are doing something on your own, then you need to first understand the pros and cons of both the languages, and then based on your use case, why you want to work on something, you need to understand that, okay, whether R will be useful here or whether Python will be useful here. That's how I used to think when I was starting to work. I have learned R also in the beginning, but then I realized that, okay, not a lot of projects favor that particular part, so I had to learn Python as well. There is no harm in learning both, by the way.
So like how was the like first journey for the programming language, and how did you came across the R first, and what do you suggest, like which language, and how we should like start our journey for the programming language?
So I would say that go for Python because that is the most used language right now. When I was working, that's what I was explaining. I studied R in the beginning because I found that more intuitive. Okay. Statistically, it was more, like it was better than any other language. So I started working on that. But then, whichever project we were working on, that always required Python. So I had to learn Python. But when I learned Python, I understood that, okay, this is also easier to understand. It's not like, Python is harder or R is harder. Both are equally, uh, equally what you say, easy to understand. And obviously, you need to make sure that whatever architecture your company uses, you have to follow the rules of that particular, company, and you have to integrate the language based on that. So yeah, that is how I started working on R because I loved it. But then when I approached my company for the projects, there were always, projects which were having Python as the first choice of language.
Okay, so now I have got the idea, like how did you start your journey and what are some recommendations. So now we can just dive into like how you're working in Adobe and what are your like day-to-day role as a data scientist in Adobe, and how do you suggest someone to crack and get into the Adobe first, like whether as a data analyst or a data scientist, or like how would you suggest someone to go into not Adobe or some big companies like Adobe itself?
Right. So let's go one by one. So first, what do you want to know first? Let me just tell you. Let me. You tell me the question
Yeah.
first. I will
So
just go about it.
okay. So first start with like what are your day-to-day roles and responsibilities and what technology you use in Adobe as a data scientist.
Okay. So in Adobe, I will tell you what my day-to-day responsibilities are. First thing, the team I am working in, I need to understand that who are my real stakeholders, right? When I say real stakeholders, it means that the people whom we are building the products for, right? Or giving the services to, correct? So I need to understand my stakeholders. I need to understand that data that we have in our systems, Adobe systems, right? Be it sales data or pre-sales data, or you say post-sales data. So we need to understand that data. We need to create kind of we need to simulate the live environment that okay, how this data is coming into the system, right? What are the processes which are fetching this data into the system? Then the use cases that we get to work on from our stakeholders or managers, I used to spend time on them. It could be part of a reporting project where we have to build some kind of a dashboard for our customers, or it could be part of a larger analytics project where we need to find the insights based on the like problem statement that the customer is giving, right? Or it could be converting this whole analytics project into a machine learning problem if the customer wants to use the results of the complete machine learning, like if they want to use the system as it is, right, to prioritize which customers they should target next or whatever they want to do, right? That is what my day to day responsibilities are. Then coming to the tools and technologies that I'm using right now, so Python is obviously the first choice for any data analytics or data science kind of project. Then second is obviously Excel, because not everybody understands machine learning or data science. So we have to think from the user's point of view. They understand Excel well, right? So we have to be good in Excel so that simple kind of models or any simple dashboards or reports we can create there itself, right? That is second thing. Third thing is Power BI, because we have to build dashboards for the customers. So we have to use a BI tool for that, which is Power BI in this case. And then fourth is obviously SQL, because all the data is residing in databases, right? So we have to use SQL to fetch that data on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, this is how my day-to-day my everyday looks like, and these are the tools that I use.
And how would you suggest someone 22 or 23-year-old who has just passed their college, their bachelor's in like BTech degree in computer science, and they want to get into some big companies like Adobe itself? So how would you suggest them a pathway or a 3-month roadmap so that they can study and crack a decent level job at Adobe?
In Adobe, for what kind of role? That becomes important, right? So we are talking about
Like,
data science or analytics here, right?
yeah, entry level role.
Right. So first thing, we need to be very clear that in today's world, just having the skills is not enough. We have to be able to, showcase those skills to our potential future employer. That is the most important thing, right? My suggestion is always like, whenever you are studying, right, when you are in a college, like I did not think like this before, but that's how if I am 20-year old, that is the advice that I would like to give my, older self. Do not develop a skill because you think that, okay, this is going to give me more money in the future, or this is going to give me a job in the future. Job is still fine, but do not think about, okay, if I learn data science today, then my future is secure, right? Learn data science or data analytics if you really feel passionate about it. My suggestion is that when you are in the college itself, you need to develop that passion at that point itself, instead of waiting to, be in a job, or you are not able to get a job and that's why you want to learn data science, right? So my suggestion is that do not approach it in that way. Approach it in the right manner. First try to understand that, okay, whether this is the right field for me or not, right? And I explained you, first of all, you need to pick any data set and try to find insights from that, insights which are actionable, and that you can understand on your own, right? You have so many AI tools right now available. You can talk to any AI tool, right? They can tell you that, okay, whether the insight that you have fetched, whether it makes sense for the business or not. Because for a 20-year-old who is just downloading the data set from the internet, they do not know, right, whether it will be useful for the customer or not. So you can use AI tools like chat gpt to simulate like a real customer, and then you can talk to them, right, like they are the real customer for you, right? That is the first thing that you need to understand. Excel you should be familiar with, then move to SQL. Okay, SQL is relatively important because all the real world data resides in databases. You need to be able to fetch that data from there. Nobody is going to provide you Excel sheets or CSV files or any other files for your work, right? So you need to be able to pull that data on your own. SQL is a must, even more important than anything else. So that is the second most important thing. Excel is first, SQL is second, then move to Python. And then in Python also, you need to be able to do those things that excites you, right? For example, you learned SQL. Now, whatever you are able to do with SQL, you should be able to do with Python as well, right? Because here you are dealing with databases. In Python, you are dealing with data frames, right? So structurally, they both look same, right? So you need to be able to fetch the data, play around with pandas, right? Use pandas, explore the data. How will you explore the data in Python? How will you find insights from Python, right? Using Python. Then you can move to, bigger things, like if you are excited about, machine learning, then you can, start learning about, what machine learning is, what kind of use cases it solves, why do companies use machine learning, right? What kind of problems are they solving for the, clients or businesses. ROI is very important. That it's not about, just creating a machine learning for a problem, whether it is actually giving the ROI to the customer or not, right, to the business owners. That is the important thing that you need to assess. And then, if this much excites you, then you can decide that, okay, if I want to move ahead and start moving towards deep learning, what kind of use cases deep learning can solve, whether those use cases excites me or not. And then you can decide that okay, today everybody wants to learn AI, so whether AI is the right field for me or not, whether I should be moving towards AI or not. So that is how I would build a particular roadmap. It cannot be done in 3 months for sure, but that's what I'm saying, that you need to develop that passion from the starting and then go about it without thinking about okay, I need to finish in this much time, or this is my goal, I want to become a good data scientist in a big tech company. That should not be the goal. Goal is to learn data science, machine learning, AI, whatever excites you. Learn it with all your heart and passion, and then you will see that okay, if you have understood things, if you have the skill set, you are able to build good portfolio. Then if you go about in the market and start giving interviews, you will never fail, because that's how I would approach it.
Yeah. Now, see, like there is a situation like someone has already built a portfolio and have some reasonable good amount of knowledge in Python, SQL, and Excel. Now they want to crack a like a tier one company, and they want to crack a entry level job for the data scientist, and they have like 3 months to go before they want to get into that particular company. So how would you suggest how many questions they need to prep for the data science, and how many interview questions for each of the sections like Python, SQL, Tableau, or Power BI, and like is DSA is required or not, like everything for that interview prep
Again,
in that
DSA,
pipeline.
yeah, DSA is required or not is very specific to the company you are interviewing for, right? So for data analytics roles, I think that it is not that much required, but obviously the basic knowledge of the basic stacks or arrays, or the queues, or those DSA algorithms that we have, they can learn that. It could be asked, it might not be asked. I was not asked any DSA question, by the way. Okay. Then if it comes to that, okay, you have 3 months time. Okay. There are two things. One is that, do you think there is already an opening in the company? Second is that you don't know anything about the company yet, there is opening or not, but you just want to prepare for it, right? First thing, if you are completely entry level, you have not done any work in the past, right? Or till now, you have not done anything in the industry. First thing, your portfolio should be very strong. The projects that you have mentioned on your portfolio should be the real projects that you have worked on, because that is going to be there for sure. How will interviewer judge you? They will judge you by the projects that you have worked on, right? And the projects that you have worked on, you should have full understanding of those projects. If it comes to data science projects, you should be able to understand that okay, what was the problem statement I was working on, what was the problem statement I was working on, what was the outcome that was expected from this particular project, and then how did I approach it, be it EDA that I did on that particular data set, how did I did the data pre-processing. In data pre-processing, you will have missing value imputation, you will have outlier handling, you will have conversion of categorical data to numerical data, whatever data pre-processing that we do, right? How did you go about that? Why did you choose a particular methodology? Why not something else, right? You should be able to answer everything. And then what model did you create at the end? Why did you use this particular algorithm, not that algorithm, right? So, and then how did you evaluate the effectiveness of your model? Why did you use this particular evaluation metric only? Why not that one, right? So you should be thorough about everything that you have done in that project. That is the most important thing. Then secondly, obviously, when you are talking about your projects to the interviewers, in that only they will be asking you the technical questions, like you use decision tree algorithm, so they will ask you that, okay, explain me what do you know about decision tree algorithm. Then they can dig deep into the technicalities of that algorithm, right? So that becomes your technical interview anyways, right? But if we have to prepare for it exclusively, then obviously you should be thorough about the EDA. What all steps do we have in the EDA or the complete data science life cycle, starting from understanding the problem statement, then moving to EDA, then moving to data pre-processing, then moving to model development, then moving to model evaluation. Then if you have done any kind of deployment as well, that should also be there, that how did you deploy this model, which particular tool did you use, and so on. So yeah, that is how I would like to prepare for the interviews if I have 3 months time and I want to crack a company like Adobe. If I already have any opening which I know is there for a fresher or entry level role, then I would like to understand the jobs, roles, and responsibilities, which is always there, right, for any job opening, and just try to see that how can I tailor my portfolio to that particular job opening, because that is like the exclusive step. You need to be able to show the company that yes, you can solve the problem for which they are hiring you. If you are not able to convince them that okay, you can solve the problem, whatever portfolio you have built, that makes no sense if you are not able to convince the interviewer that okay, these are the problems that you have listed in your opening or in your jobs, roles, and responsibilities, and yes, I have the required skill set to solve them. So yeah.
Great. So, could you just explain like how did you came across this job at Adobe and how were you able to like continue and what were the different rounds of the interview and like what were the similar kind of patterns or questions that were being asked?
Sure. So in my case, like again, there is a caveat. I am 15 years experience, so I don't know whether all these things are applicable to any fresher or entry level guy or not. But I will just explain you from my side how was the process and all. So I got a call on its own. I did not apply for Adobe's role. I got a call on its own, and then when I got the call, I asked for the JD from the interviewer, right? And then I checked that whether that JD matches with the skill sets that I already have or not. And it was a match. It was an absolute match. So whatever skills were mentioned, I already had all those skills, right? Now it was just a matter of clearing the interviews, right? Then I had almost 4 to 5 rounds of interview. First round was obviously SQL. That's what I explained to you. SQL is the most important skill that you need to have, be it the data analyst role or data science role or machine learning role or any other role, because all the real world data of companies is in databases. Nobody is going to provide you Excel sheets or CSVs downloading the data there. You have to do that dirty job on your own. So that is the number one skill, and that was my first round. My second round was regarding how will you approach a problem, basically kind of a case study round, right? Like where I was supposed to ask or supposed to explain my previous projects that I have worked on, right? And then the interviewer was asking me that okay, how did you approach this thing, what was the business problem that you were trying to solve in this particular problem. It was a non technical round. That's what I'm explaining. First round was technical SQL, second round was non technical with a manager level guy who was asking me about my previous projects from the business standpoint, that what was the pain point that you were solving and all. And then in between they were asking about my technical skills as well, that okay, how will you explain this thing to the user, like for example linear regression, how will you explain the results of linear regression model to a non-technical guy. So all those things they were asking me. Then the third round was again case study based round, but it was more of a technical round, that what was my technical architecture in my previous projects, okay. And then the guy was asking me some random use cases as well, that for example you have salesman in your company, how will you evaluate the effectiveness of a sales guy, how will you make sure that the effectiveness of your salespeople are increasing, the guys who are not performing that well, how can we approach them using data and try to improve their performance. Again, it was case study based round, but with more focus on the technical part of things. Then my next round was a case study, complete case study, hands-on case study, machine learning case study. So I was given a data set, I was given a problem statement along with that, and I had to create machine learning model and then create a PPT which will explain, like, we were just simulating a real world scenario that okay, I am a guy who is working as a data scientist with so and so department in Adobe. This is the problem that they are facing. How should we solve it? And then present it to the non-technical stakeholders so that they can take future course of action on that, right? So these were my 4 rounds that I gave with Adobe.
Great, great experience. Now we are like on the business end of this podcast. So I have some rapid questions. Uh, it is a fun section of this podcast. So feel free to answer each question in 10 to 15 seconds. So just for a personal background, like what was the first data set that you ever worked on?
It was, that's what I'm explaining you. The first data set was when I was working in my first job. I used to create ticket. I was categorizing tickets to the proper people. That was my first data set that
Yeah.
I worked on. Yeah,
Kaggle, love it or leave it.
love it.
Uh, Now, favorite ML algorithm. It is a
I
tricky
do.
question.
I do not have any
Trick question.
favorite algorithm, but I like decision trees a lot because they are very intuitive and they can explain what is exactly happening in the data.
Yeah. Go to Python library.
Pandas,
Notebook or IDE.
notebook,
SQL or no SQL.
SQL,
Most underrated tool in data science.
SQL.
What was the coolest project that you have ever worked upon?
So all the projects that I have worked on, I have kind of liked them. But one project which is always there, like which I, like try to think about today also, that was the warranty analytics project that I worked on for a major automotive giant.
Great. So how do you keep up with the new tools that are coming up in this field?
So right now, I follow certain YouTube channels from which I get the daily updates. If there is anything new coming in the market, then there is always a video available on YouTube for that. So I try to watch that, and then if it excites me, then I try to go deep into it. That okay, let me try to understand. For example, nowadays I am learning about LangChain. I know it came a lot earlier, but I am able to find some time now because I saw one video and I checked that okay, this is actually something which can do a lot of things for us. How you can create LLM powered apps or AI powered apps using LangChain. So yeah, that excited me, and I am learning that nowadays.
Yeah, one of the channels that I am learning LangChain is Campus X and Krishna X. So just for the recommendation,
Right.
viewers can definitely check that out. And one myth about data science that you want to debunk.
It is fading away due to AI revolution coming. That is not true. Every business needs all kind of technologies. AI is one of them, but data science is here to stay.
So you already told that you are working on LangChain. So one thing is LLMs are overhyped or transformative.
LLMs are not overhyped, but yes, the kind of marketing that is happening nowadays, that that is, what should I say? That is obviously spreading some misinformation, right? So people are thinking that okay, this is the only thing that they should concentrate on. Obviously that is the future, but you need to understand that you cannot build future just because somebody is saying that this is the future. You need to put your thinking as well behind that.
Great. So what is your dream data set to ever work on?
Dream data set is obviously which does not have too many issues and you don't have to use too many assumptions to work on that, because lesser the number of assumptions, the clearer the data set is and the better insights you can provide to the stakeholders.
Data science in one word.
Data science is magic. Like what, when I used to work on
S-
it, like before that I did not understand that okay, what is it that I'm doing right now. But when I started working on it, I found it is actually providing value to the customers if they are able to use it properly. So that is like magic. You can solve a lot of your business problems using data science.
So, do you like pizza or biryani? Which
Biryani.
one? Biryani lover. Great. So, this was the last section of the podcast. So, before we end this session, just one parting advice for the youngsters or your younger self that you want to give.
One thing that I would say, which I have, I think earlier also I stated it in this podcast, don't try to learn something because you think that is the future, or you are being told in your ears that okay, this is the future, this is the future. Just try to understand things if you are really passionate about them. If you are passionate about them, you will obviously start learning them from that point of view. You will be able to learn that properly without thinking that okay, what is the outcome going to be for that, right? That is the advice that I would give to my younger self. Don't chase anything unless you are absolutely sure about it, and just focus on something properly. Just give it your all. Just try to understand things properly. Master it. Master it, not to get a job or get a future ready data scientist or AI engineer. Master it if you are really passionate about it. Everything else will follow.
Great. It was lovely having you on this session. So we have some future plans as well for this podcast and the series. We are also going to have some more guests and alongside with Ruchir. So we are planning to have Ruchir every day on Saturday. So podcast will be released on like every once at a time in a week. So Ruchir, what are your plans for this podcast and how do you see this as like improving the lives of the people who are just starting their journey in this data science?
So my plan would be to obviously first of all calm down the 20-year-old guys that don't think that okay, if you don't learn something today, your future is not going to be secure. Focus on things, go step by step. Just start thinking about things using first principles. Just think that why something exists in the first place. Go step by step. Start with Excel sheets, understand them, find insights from data. Just try to see whether those insights make sense for the business or not. And then you can build on things like why SQL is required. Let's deep dive into that. Then why Power BI is required, for example, right? So that is how I would like to approach this podcast series. Just give step by step instructions to viewers so that they are feeling much more calmer than what they're feeling today.
Great. So we are going to end this session now. And thank you for Ruchir for joining this session. And we will definitely connect over the weekday and for the Saturday for our session.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,